Hello and welcome to Peggy's Plants, coming to you from Central Florida once again with my stuffy allergy voice. In today's video, I'd like to share with you a plant that you don't even know that you want yet in your collection, the Paraiso Verde. Like so many plants, those that some of which I'm showing you here, the Paraiso Verde is one of those plants that at one point in time was almost impossible to get your hands on, and if you did, it cost a crazy amount of money. But like so many plants recently, these plants have been mass produced by major growers and are being released to the market, distributed on the market at home improvement stores, grocery stores, discount stores. They're just popping up everywhere at very reasonable prices. For those of you who are not familiar, this is what Philodendron Paraiso Verde looks like. I think it's obvious why they are so highly sought after. It's those mottled leaves. The variegation on the leaves is very different from most variegation that you typically see. Now, I have had my Paraiso Verde for, I guess, almost 4 years now, possibly 4 years. This is a shot of it from one of my videos. And I purchased this on eBay, and this was the size when I purchased it. And I paid $50 for this plant. So it wasn't hundreds of dollars like many of the plants, but $50 for a smaller plant is still, to me, a lot of money. And they weren't readily available. You could never walk into like a big box store or even a plant seller and just find this plant. It just wasn't that kind of situation. And after about 4 years, this is what the plant looks like today. Yes, there's been some growing pains. It didn't like the move from the keys here. It dropped all the bottom leaves. I was going to chop it and prop it, and then it started doing all this. As you can see at the top, it's giving me lots of life. And yeah, now I don't know what to do. But imagine my surprise when I walked into a Publix grocery store about a week ago and came across this Philodendron Paraiso Verde. Now, I had seen a few YouTubers mention that they'd seen them here and there, but you really haven't heard much talk about this plant. It's clearly being mass produced. I've not seen anything from this company before. I'm not, familiar with this company, but this plant was only $16.99. Yes, $16.99, much less than the $50 I paid for the 3 leaves, and it comes in a nice decorative ceramic pot with marbling. So very nice presentation, great price for this plant. I definitely would encourage you to pick it up if you see this plant. There's actually 2 separate plants in the pot. When choosing plants to purchase, I always like to get as many plants in the pot as possible with as many growth points as possible. I find the Paraiso Verde to be one of my easiest plants to care for. Now let me tell you something about the mottling. A lot of people complain about this plant reverting. Now, I've had maybe 1 or 2 solid green leaves, but I haven't had any of those recently. And it definitely has to do with the amount of light you give these plants. This plant, as you can see, this is my older one, and the leaves are highly mottled. It's just that they're not light green. And that's definitely due to the amount of light it's getting. It's under grow lights, so it gets several hours of light a day. For me, one of the fun things about this plant has been kind of manipulating the light to see what kind of results I get in terms of variegation on the leaves. So it's like interactive plant growth. Very fun. And the last thing I'm going to say about this variegation is this is one of my favorite leaves on this plant. It is at the top of the plant, growing closest to the window, and look at it. I mean, I've never seen anything like this on any other plant. So adding this to your collection is definitely adding something different. I love variegation, but I also love plants that are different. And this is definitely a different looking plant. Look at those lobes. Look at the veining on this plant, the elongated leaves. What's not to love about a Paraiso Verde? I did do a care video back when I first got this plant, and so I'm not going to go deep into that, but just want to show you some things. As you see here, lots and lots of aerial roots these plants put out, very close internodal spacing. I was going to propagate this, and since it had no leaves at the bottom, and so what I decided to do, because I didn't want to risk losing the entire plant, so I decided that I would take some of the aerial roots and put them in a cup of water and let them root before I did any chopping on the plant. And here's how that's going. Now I'm not sure what I'm going to do, if I'm going to propagate it or not. So I'm just not doing anything at this point. However, it's good to know that if I do decide to propagate, it's easy to root this plant just from the aerial roots. All I have to do is cut it and go ahead and plant those roots. So good to know. Don't hesitate to buy this plant even if you're a newbie. I find it to be as easy to take care of as a pothos. I have it planted in lechuza pond. I also have a cutting in soil. Either way, I've had absolutely no problems. Just note that this plant does have the potential to get really big. It would do great on a moss pole. So if you see this in a grocery store, Home Depot, Lowe's, any of those places at a great price, go ahead and grab your Paraiso Verde. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.